What if we told you there's a way to like cut through all the noise of this next election, the 2024 election, and get a totally unbiased take on how it's all playing out?
Okay.
No pundits, no polls.
Interesting.
It's just pure artificial intelligence.
So we're talking about getting insights straight from AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We're not asking it to like predict who's going to win or anything like that. It's more about like, how does AI actually view this whole election?
So how would an AI designed to think like a voter make a decision in this election?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Fascinating.
So to do that, we basically created our own AI voter.
Okay.
We call it P.
P.
Yeah, P.
Yeah.
Think of it like that friend we all have, you know, the one who like devours every news article,
Right.
every campaign ad, and they remember every political gaffe for like the past 20 years.
Yeah, I know that person.
Yeah.
That's a pretty spot-on analogy.
And we basically fed P a massive amount of data, news articles from everywhere. Wow.
Social media trends. Even campaign ads from Team Harris and Team Trump.
Interesting. So no pressure, P.
Right.
But the election's coming up fast. What's your take on the race so far?
Exactly. Like, what is AI seeing that maybe we're all missing here?
Right. So one of the things that P really keyed in on right away was the state of the race itself.
Okay.
It's close, like nail-bitingly close.
Right.
And P picked up on a lot of anxiety around whether Harris might be repeating some of Hillary Clinton's strategies from 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and not exactly what you want to hear if you're a Harris supporter hoping for a different outcome this time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still recovering from 2016.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about this comparison. What is it exactly that P is seeing?
So one of the things that P flagged was Harris's focus on appealing to moderate Republicans.
Okay.
Even some who are anti-Trump.
Interesting.
Which, on paper, might sound like a good strategy, right?
Right.
But P identified a potential pitfall here. And what's that?
Alienating the base.
Okay.
So P analyzed articles and data that suggest that her attempts to court those moderate Republicans could end up backfiring.
Backfiring? How so?
By not energizing her own Democratic base enough.
Interesting.
Particularly in those crucial swing states.
So you're talking about, like, Pennsylvania.
Exactly. Pennsylvania is already shaping up to be a pivotal state, much like back in 2016.
Right.
And the AI highlighted the importance of the Democratic base there, especially working-class voters.
Okay.
And flagged the risk of Harris's strategy, you know, maybe not resonating as well with those voters.
So let me just get this straight. P is essentially saying that this race is way too close to call right now.
Yeah.
And that Harris could be making a mistake by not really focusing on solidifying her base.
Precisely.
Okay.
But it wasn't all doom and gloom for Harris.
Okay.
P did recognize that she is currently holding a slight lead in the polls.
Right.
Statistically speaking, at least. However, P also noted that those numbers are so close, especially in those key swing states, that it's really anyone's game at this point.
Right. Everyone's saying that it's like too close to call.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. It's like even AI is picking up on how close this race is, you know, like we're all nervous about it.
Yeah.
And it seems like P is too.
It seems that way.
So what else is P noticing about the Harris campaign? Anything else stand out?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
P identified a pattern of endorsements that Harris has received.
Okay.
And found them, well, perplexing to say the least.
Perplexing endorsements.
Perplexing endorsements.
Who is endorsing Kamala Harris that has our AI scratching its head?
Names like Dick Cheney, for example.
Okay.
Alberto Gonzalez.
Well, those are some names I haven't heard in a while.
Right.
Okay. I could see why that would raise an eyebrow or two, even for AI.
Exactly. P flagged these endorsements as potentially tone deaf.
Okay.
Especially for younger voters.
Yeah.
Who, you know.
They don't have the same frame of reference, right?
Right. These are voters that might only know these names from history books.
Right.
Or a quick Google search.
So is P suggesting that these endorsements might actually hurt Harris more than help her?
It's a definite possibility. And this goes back to P's earlier observation about alienating the base.
Right.
These endorsements might appeal to some moderate Republicans, but they could also very easily turn off younger, more progressive voters.
Right. Voters who don't really see figures like Dick Cheney as champions of their values.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's almost like P is piecing together a puzzle, right?
Okay.
Connecting the dots between all these different aspects of her campaign.
Right.
And then identifying these potential inconsistencies.
So it's not just looking at these data points in isolation, it's actually analyzing them in relation to each other.
That's a great way to put it. It's thinking like a human political analyst would.
Wow.
And that's where we really start to see some insightful observations emerge.
This is fascinating.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about P's take on Harris's campaign so far, the potential pitfalls, those interesting endorsements. But what about the other side of the race?
Right.
How is our AI voter reacting to Trump's campaign?
Well, while P certainly didn't shy away from the controversy surrounding Trump,
Of course not.
it also picked up on something that I think a lot of people, maybe even some of us watching this election unfold, might be overlooking.
What's that?
Nostalgia.
Okay.
P identified a pattern of economic nostalgia among certain demographics, particularly those who felt a sense of security or even prosperity during the pre-COVID Trump years.
So even AI understands the whole "Make America Great Again" sentiment.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
P identifies a very real and potentially very powerful emotion at play here.
Right.
These are voters who might be willing to overlook the chaos, the tweets, the investigations, all of it, if it means a return to a time when they felt more financially stable.
Interesting.
And Pia recognized that Trump's campaign is tapping into that emotion, whether intentionally or not.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's easy to get caught up in the headlines and forget that for some people. It really does just come down to their own personal bottom line.
Absolutely.
And if they felt like they were doing better 4 years ago, they might be willing to overlook a lot to get back to that, regardless of what the rest of us think.
Exactly. And what's so interesting is that P, despite being an AI, was able to connect those dots.
Right.
It recognized that his campaign strategy is resonating with a specific segment of voters by tapping into their desire for a perceived better time.
So we've got AI recognizing potential pitfalls for Harris, strategic advantages for Trump.
Right.
This is already giving us a lot to think about, but I'm curious. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of what P has been analyzing.
Right.
What happens when we start showing P the actual campaign ads?
That's where P's analysis gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Remember, we're talking about an AI that's been trained on a massive amount of data.
Right.
Language, images, you name it.
Yeah.
It can spot things in these campaign ads that even the most seasoned political analyst might miss.
Okay, I am ready for this. Let's fire up the campaign ad playlist for P.
All right, so we showed P a mix of ads from both campaigns, started with Team Harris.
Okay.
Overall, P responded pretty positively to the tone.
Okay.
You know, words like freedom, safety, fighting for justice, those seem to resonate.
The classic campaign vibes.
Right. But the question is, were those good vibes enough?
Exactly. Like, did it make P want to vote for her?
That's the key question, right? Yeah. And while P definitely connected with the positive messaging, it also started to raise some flags when it came to the actual substance of the ads.
What do you mean?
P noticed a pattern of, like, broad promises without a lot of concrete details.
Okay.
For example, one ad focused on Harris's plan to cut taxes for millions of Americans.
Okay.
Which sounds great, right?
Sure.
Who doesn't love a good tax cut?
Exactly.
But as P pointed out, the ad didn't really address how she actually plans to make that happen.
So P is like, show me the math, Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like it. AI's holding her accountable.
Right. And it wasn't just about the economy either.
Okay.
P picked up on some inconsistencies in her messaging around immigration.
Interesting. Okay.
So one ad emphasized her really tough stance on border security, even comparing her record to Trump's.
That is a bold move.
Right.
Immigration is so polarizing.
Right. And P was quick to point out that this tough on immigration message kind of felt at odds with other messages about compassion and reform.
Right. So it's like she's trying to have it both ways.
Exactly. And remember, this AI is constantly cross-referencing,
right,
looking for patterns, inconsistencies.
Right. So in this case, it sounds like P is saying that Harris is trying to appeal to everyone, which could end up backfiring.
It's a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, P is designed to simulate how a human voter makes decisions.
Right.
And we all know humans, well, we can be turned off by candidates who seem inconsistent or inauthentic.
Yeah, for sure.
So it sounds like those Harris ads weren't exactly a home run for our AI voter.
Right. Not exactly a ringing endorsement from P.
No, not really.
So what happened when we queued up the Trump campaign ads?
Okay.
How'd those land?
This is where P's analysis gets really interesting.
Okay.
While it acknowledged the effectiveness of some of Trump's tactics,
okay,
it also raised some, let's just say, red flags.
All right, I have to ask.
Yeah.
What part of a Trump campaign ad did AI find effective?
Well, P identified that his focus on economic anxiety, that same nostalgia we talked about earlier,
Right.
that can be a really powerful tool
Yeah.
for swaying voters, especially those who are feeling, left behind.
So even AI understands the appeal of the whole good old days narrative,
It seems so.
especially when it comes to people's wallets, right?
Especially when it comes to people's wallets.
Yeah.
P recognized that by zeroing in on these economic concerns, Trump's really tapping into a very real and very relatable emotion for a lot of voters.
Right.
However, P also flagged some aspects of his ads as, well, potentially off-putting.
Like what?
Well, for starters, P was quick to pick up on the heavy negativity.
Right.
Lots of fear-mongering,
Of course.
lots of blaming Harris and Biden for, well, everything.
So classic Trump campaign tactics.
Right, but here's the thing.
Okay.
While those tactics might work on some voters,
Right.
P found them, well, a little off-putting.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who's, still trying to decide who to vote for.
Yeah, it's like that friend who always complains but never actually offers any solutions. You just start to tune them out.
Exactly. And remember, we designed P to be that undecided voter.
Right.
That person who's still weighing their options, trying to cut through all the noise.
Right. So is P finding any solutions in these Trump ads?
Unfortunately, not really.
Okay.
P noticed a real lack of concrete plans for tackling these issues that, Trump was so busy talking about.
So lots of talk, not a lot of action.
Yeah, pretty much.
It seems like P is a tough critic,
P is a tough critic.
no matter who the candidate is.
Well, that's the thing about AI, right?
Yeah.
It cuts through the noise and just focuses on the data.
Right.
And in this case, the data seemed to show that both Harris and Trump were, relying more on rhetoric and emotional appeals
Okay.
than actual, policy substance.
Wow. Okay, so this is a lot.
It is a lot.
It sounds like P is finding both campaigns lacking in some key areas,
Yeah.
but for very different reasons.
For very different reasons.
So what happens next? Does P just throw its hands up in the air and say, forget it, I'm not voting?
Not quite.
Okay.
Remember, we're trying to really simulate this whole decision-making process of a human voter.
Right, and most humans don't just stay home on election day.
Again.
Even if we're frustrated.
Right.
We find a way to make a decision.
Right. So what did P do?
Yeah, what did P do?
Well, P did what any good voter would do.
Okay.
It went beyond the campaign slogans
Okay.
and actually started to establish its own criteria for choosing a candidate.
Interesting. Okay, so P is done with the hype, ready to make a decision. So what were those criteria, for choosing a candidate?
Well, for Harris, it really came down to demonstrating competence
Okay.
and having a really clear plan of action,
Okay.
especially when it came to the economy.
So it's actions speak louder than words, Harris.
Yes,
Show me what you're going to do.
precisely. P wanted to see those concrete solutions,
Okay.
specific policies for tackling inflation, creating jobs, things like that,
Oh.
addressing those concerns of those working class voters that we've been talking about.
Right, those key demographics.
Exactly.
Okay, so it sounds like P is holding Harris to a pretty high standard here.
Yeah.
What about Trump? What would it take for him to win over our AI voter?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Remember how P flagged those inconsistencies in Harris's messaging, especially around immigration?
Yeah, she was trying to appeal to everybody,
Exactly.
but maybe wasn't doing it very effectively.
Right. Well, for Trump, it wasn't so much inconsistency as Trump himself.
You mean the tweets, the drama?
All of it. Yeah, all the chaos.
Right.
P recognized that, his economic message, it does seem to resonate.
Okay.
But the overall package,
Yeah.
the constant drama, the unpredictability, that was a major deterrent for P.
So it's P is saying, look, I appreciate the focus on the economy, but can we maybe tone down the theatrics a bit?
That's a great way to put it. P seemed to really crave a sense of stability,
Okay.
predictability.
Right.
And that's just not something that Trump's campaign was really offering.
So for P, this election wasn't just about policy or even campaign promises. It was about something bigger.
It seems like it, yeah.
Something that I think a lot of voters are really grappling with right now.
Oh, what's that?
Trust.
Yeah.
Believing that the person you're voting for is not only capable, but that they're not going to burn down the whole system in the process.
Wow, that's really insightful.
And it's fascinating to me that we're seeing this reflected in the decision making of AI.
I know.
But this AI is holding up a mirror
right.
to our own anxieties about this election.
Exactly. And it's reminding us that even in this age of like algorithms and artificial intelligence, some things never really change.
Right. We're all still looking for that same thing in our leaders.
Exactly. And that's maybe the most important takeaway from all of this.
Yeah.
It's not about whether AI can predict the election or tell us who to vote for.
Right.
It's about recognizing that even artificial intelligence, when it's, confronted with these really complex human behaviors, the messiness of politics,
all of it,
it still finds itself wrestling with those same fundamental questions.
Right.
What do we want from our leaders?
Yeah.
What kind of future are we trying to build?
Right.
And who, if anyone, can actually help us get there?
Those are the questions, my friends.
Big question.
That we are all left to ponder as we head into, the final stretch of this election.
Right. And will Harris be able to do it?
Right. Will she rise to the challenge?
Will she offer those concrete solutions?
Will she offer that sense of stability that,
that P clearly craves?
That P wants, that I think a lot of us want.
Right. And what about Trump? Is he going to tone down the chaos?
Yeah. Is he going to convince us that he's capable of, leading with a steady hand?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure.
What's that?
This race is far from over.
Oh, absolutely not.
And, I think P's insights have given us a whole new way to, look at this election.
Absolutely. It's a whole new lens.
Whole new lens.
So thank you for taking this deep dive with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Into, the world of AI and elections. It's a wild world out there.
It really is.
We're going to be back next time. We'll unpack another topic.
Can't wait.
But in the meantime, keep those brains firing.
Stay curious and maybe, just maybe, try not to let the algorithms predict the future with 100% accuracy just yet.
Not just yet.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See you later.